Kia ora everyone, my name is Olivia and I'm the National Content Coordinator for the Manchester Unity Members Forum, and today I'm joined by Sofian from Shaking Minds, and we're going to be giving you some tips and tricks on how to deal with Covid-19, which is obviously the biggest topic probably being discussed in the world at the moment, and with New Zealand having to go back into alert levels 2 and 3, it's obviously a very hot topic and it can affect people in so many different ways. So today Sofian will be sharing some knowledge and tips and tricks on ways that you can improve your mental health as we're going through this worldwide pandemic. So I'll pass it over to Sofian to quickly introduce himself and then we'll get straight into it.
Hi everyone, and thank you very much for joining us on that video. So like Olivia said, my name is Sofian. I'm the founder of Shaking Minds. So Shaking Minds is a company that works around wellness and well-being for everyone. The goal of the company is to create a positive impact for people. So I'm a certified life coach, and over the last 10 years, I've been helping people all around the world. So now with what's happening with COVID-19, more than ever, I think there's a good need for a lot of wellness and well-being. So that's why we decided with Manchester Unity to actually create that video to give you guys some tips about how to better go through that pandemic right now.
Fantastic. So really, how can people, as best as possible, deal with the pandemic that's going on? What are some ways that we can improve our mental health, whether we're in lockdown or whether we're still able to go out and about?
Well, so like the way that the pandemic is hitting all of us at the moment is very different. It's a case by case. Like we know right now, Auckland is going to be under level 3, while the rest of New Zealand will be under level 2. So there's a kind of a different stress that happens right there between Auckland and the rest of New Zealand. With that being said, we're all like in a very kind of uncertain time, and everyone is kind of stressing out about what's going on. Some of us have lost their job. Some other people, maybe they lost even more than a job or something like this. So there could be a lot of things happening around you at the moment. So what we want to focus on, what I want to give you the little tips is how to get the positive out of what's happening in that situation. So whenever there is a negative event that happens like this and that could impact your life in a certain way, basically when something bad happens to you, the more you're going to complain about it, the more you're going to drown this and literally complaining about it, the more it's going to last, if you prefer. You're not going to be able to get rid of that negative feeling as quickly because you keep move the knife into the scar. That's a French expression that we say, right? So basically what you want to do, you want to start to, instead of focusing on the negative and instead of dragging that whole story around COVID or whatsoever, what you can do is to look for an action plan. What can you do instead? So it gives a new opportunity to create something new. So for you, you want to kind of put yourself into action. What can you look into? Maybe building something new, maybe starting a new business, maybe finding some ideas in your community, helping people or that type of thing. But basically you want to take your mind away from the negative thought around COVID-19 and trying to focus yourself on a project. Because you focus yourself on a project, this will actually kind of erase the negative and will start to create a positive vibe. So that would be like kind of the very first tip that I could give to everyone, is really to switch your attention from the negative and what the media are saying and that type of things to something more positive. That would be the first tip. The second tip, which is very close to this first one, is actually to entertain yourself. So, switching your attention from negative to a project would be the same as switching your attention from the negative to a movie, for example. If you sat down, you put Netflix on and you start to look at a comedy or whatsoever, during this hour and a half of the movie, you're completely going to forget what's going on right there. So I really strongly encourage people, not especially to spend their time in front of the TV all day long. That's not the point, but try to find some activities that you could put in place. It could be doing some craft, could be watching a movie there and there, could be go play soccer or that type of things with the family, always in your bubble. Of course, you want to stay safe. But it's really entertain yourself. You want to distract your brain for whatever is happening. Switch off the media, switch off the newspaper. You don't need this at the moment because it's going to bring you in a negative spiral. So you want to stay positive by distracting your brain. That will be like my second tip. As you can see, they're very similar. The first and the second one, they work like hand in hand right here. But that would be the first two that I could give for people out here.
Awesome. Social media can be quite consuming, even the news on TV, and there's a lot of fake news out there as well, especially with conspiracy theories that are popping up all over the place especially about coronavirus. Would you recommend people taking time out of their day that they don't have devices near them and doing something like you mentioned, perhaps starting a project or even watching a comedy or something that they can be distracted from?
Absolutely. And it's a very good point, like talking about the impact of media and that type of thing. Like we just saw that a few days ago, that there was something actually huge where you actually, if you don't know if the news are fake or not, so it could have like a really negative impact. So I guess what we have to do is we have to trust what's happening. I personally think that the government is doing a hard job, really like dealing with it's. We've never seen that anywhere else in the world, and so far I found that New Zealand is doing very well compared to some other countries out here, right? So the government is doing good, is doing hard, and they're doing a really great job. So we have to trust them, and let the boat go smooth and focus on something more positive, because I've met a few people there and there. I had people that reach out to me and they're desperate. They're completely desperate and they feel lost because they're focusing too much on what's happening on the media. So if that creates such a negative impact, then don't expose yourself to such a negative thing. Expose yourself to some positive vibes, and that's the reason why distracting yourself is a great thing. Another way also to generate positive vibes is to do some exercise. So do a bit of exercise there and there. I remember during the first lockdown that we had, I think there was some classes that were actually displayed on a broadcast on national TV, and I found that fantastic. So you can find lots and lots of workout online, YouTube videos and everything. There's such a strong community sense over the last few months. We've never seen that before. It's fantastic. So you can take advantage of it. There is little things. And so you don't have to be in shape to do that. Like even doing a little bit of stretches, because you don't have the mobility that I have, for example. Just do a bit of stretches and that type of things. Everything that will help you to get your blood circulate will help you. And same, it takes your brain away from what's happening out there, and it just gets you in a positive mood. Absolutely.
Awesome, thank you. How about dealing with the emotions that come with being in lockdown with people such as your family or your flatmates or friends that you're not used to being with 24/7? How can you overcome those kind of emotions? Perhaps if you're feeling like your home is a little bit too tight and you might be butting heads with people because you're just not used to spending so much time with them. How can you overcome those feelings?
Well, it's a great point, because like you said, you're actually getting 24/7 with people and normally you're not. So it's actually one of the first things that could be done is actually to set some ground rules. What are the new rules that we're going to have being together all the time? Now, because we're in the second wave of COVID and not the first one anymore, maybe some of the rules already took place in the first time. So if those rules were working, then they can come back again right here. But what I really recommend to people is literally, if it hasn't been done, is to set up those ground rules together. If you need some help, you can reach out to some people. You can reach out to some relationship coaches or that type of things. It depends with who you are in your bubble right there. But I think it's really it's a time to reach out for help as well for people, because there's many people supporting each other. I've been taking a lot of people on free calls, literally putting my service for free out there for many people, having a 1-hour conversation and everything, because I want to make an impact for the community, because it's such a hard time. So it's about engaging the communication with the people with who you are and knowing what are the boundaries, but also it's about allowing yourself to have some personal time. So I think it's very important to find like a common time, but also a personal one. And, it's about going out for some walks, because it's very important to go out a bit of the house to have walk. Hopefully you have a nice weather. And so it's about also spending time and having activities together, so it's about having the balance between the two. Because if we don't set this up, then it could become a bit tricky. Absolutely.
is it okay to feel like you do need space from the people that you live with or who you've been in lockdown with? Because even though you love your family and your friends or whoever you live with, because you're not used to spending so much time with them, is it okay to feel like you need a bit of a break from them sometimes?
Absolutely, and there's nothing wrong about this at all. It's actually, I think it is a natural process. You know what I mean? So there is a moment, and especially when you're in a situation when there's like, you know, younger kids at home and all of that. Some families, they have very young kids at home, and it could be actually quite challenging because normally the kids are at daycare. For some other parents, they face the challenge that they need to do school for their kids at home. So it is a different situation, and it's true that to stay sane, because literally that's what we're talking about, to stay sane, we need to be able to find some time to kind of take a break. So now I know it's easier said than done. If you are a couple, you can actually play tag with the kids. That's how you could do. Unfortunately, not all the parents are together. Sometimes they're divorced, and sometimes they're single parents at home. So it's about trying to find a way to make it happen. What is important is whatever we want to do, we want to say, I'm not going to do this when I have time, is I'm going to make some time during the day to do that, because you don't want to be running back to back during the day without having a moment for yourself where you take a deep breath. Even if it's only 5 minutes, it's very important to do that, because that's what's going to keep you running. That's what's going to keep you sane, is to at some point just stop, take a deep breath, and just tell yourself, everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be all right. We're going to go through that and everything's going to be great. But it's really like you need to take the time to do that at some point.
You mentioned before about how it's important to set boundaries out from the beginning. And I know we're in the second wave of lockdown now, but if people are still to set those boundaries, perhaps if we go into lockdown in the future, how can you initiate that conversation? Because that can be a little bit uncomfortable sometimes, saying to someone, hey, I do actually need a break from you during the day. How can you sort of start that conversation without offending the other person or the people that you live with?
It is a trick one. And so first of all, if you want to have a good conversation, you need to have that conversation where you're not emotionally driven. So basically the stress is hitting and all that type of things. And if you completely let it go at that specific moment, there's going to be a lot of emotion with that. So there's going to be frustration, anger, and that type of things. So you know at a moment of the day that there will be a moment where you are in a better mindset, where you are more in control, when the emotion is not manifesting itself that strong. That is the perfect moment to engage the conversation, because you want to have like, basically you want to come up and say, hey, we need to put a game plan. If we want to go through that and stay strong and that type of thing, we need to put a game plan in place right now, because this work, this doesn't work, this work, this doesn't work, and all of that. So it's really, I think this will be the main key, and the point is not to is to make the other people understand, I'm not here to blame you for something. We're here to make it work as a team. As roommate, as a flatmate, or whatever it is, it works in every single situation with whoever you are in your bubble, stuck at home. You need to put some ground rules right now more than ever, because you don't want to be on each other's nerves, and that's the thing. So it could be an uncomfortable discussion, and I definitely appreciate that. But it's also a necessary one, because if you don't have that conversation, then the situation might be worse and worse and worse. So you don't want to have that negative feeling on top of COVID that starts to arise at home, right? Now, like I said earlier, reach out for help, literally reach out for help. There's plenty of coaches out here. You can get in touch with me if you want. There's some videos out here about positive mindset, about better communication with your bubbles and all that type of things. It's the perfect moment to expand yourself, to expand your personal development right here, to find the solution, and to, it's all about seeing the glass half empty versus half full. Right now, we're trying to support people to have a different perspective on what's happening.
Just going back to what you mentioned about the projects or things that you can focus on to take your mind off perhaps the stress or the anxiety that comes with being in lockdown or with this worldwide pandemic. Are there any specific type of projects that people could do, or is it literally anything that things that they're passionate about, or things, is it just anything that can take your mind off what's going on?
Yeah, literally it could be anything. I think it's the great opportunity to do something that you wanted to do for such a long time. Like, that, oh, I wanted to learn how to play guitar or how to sing or whatever. That could be a great example. So finally time to start ticking off that thing out of your bucket list. But sometimes in the moment you can be inspired as well. And so I remember, for example, for myself in the first lockdown, I started to create a lot of things out of cardboard for my little one. So I built her like really crazy thing. And the more I was going into that, the happier I was. And I was getting very creative. And the more creative I was getting, the happier she was becoming. So because of that, we had a lot of fun. And that really helped us to go through the first lockdown, like 100%. I created like, a little kitchen made out of cardboard, a little igloo house made out of cardboard, a table, a chair, literally everything. And I'm not good at this. Honestly, I'm not good at this, right? So I search on Google, I try different things and all that, but you got to do all these things because that's how anything can work. You just need to put the time in and the effort, and that's about it. But anything can do, yeah.
That's really cool. How about the people who perhaps have found lockdown like a positive experience? Is there anything that people who have enjoyed lockdown or who have gotten along with their family or set those boundaries in the beginning, who just generally found lockdown to be quite a positive experience and haven't been too fazed by COVID? Is there anything that they can do to sort of continue that positivity and not be swept under by the consumption of social media or fake news or anything like that? Is there anything that can aid in their positive experience?
Well, I guess like for people who were lucky to find like, a nice way to stay happy during the first lockdown, then like unconsciously they already found like kind of a process that works well for them. So my recommendation would be simply to keep on carry on what they used to do during that first lockdown, right? So whatever it was, maybe they found a new passion, maybe they're starting to do some gardening or whatever it is. We just want them to keep going on that type of things and stay away as much as possible from all those negative things like you mentioned, social media and that type of things. I know that sometimes it is tricky, but you don't want to change a recipe if it's a good one, right? So carry on with what you have. If that's something that keeps you having those positive vibe and all of that, carry on. Keep calling your family if that's what makes you happy. Keep spending time with your children if that's what makes you happy. But basically that balance that you had during the first lockdown, you want to bring it back into the game to have it here, and don't let anything else affect it. Now there might be some way to improve it even more than what you have in the first lockdown. So, we're giving you here more tips to be able to kind of make that whole lockdown being a lot smoother compared to the first one. But yeah, carry on with what you're doing, guys. You're all doing great for sure.
Awesome. How would you recommend talking about those anxious feelings or those stressful thoughts to the people that you are living with or who you're in lockdown with, or even family members over Zoom or Skype or however you communicate? Do you think it's important to articulate those feelings in times of stress or anxiety?
Absolutely. I think it is really important because when you start to talk about those emotions with people around you, basically you acknowledge the fact that they're here. The point is not to suppress the emotion. The point is to acknowledge that they're here, because the quicker you're going to acknowledge them, the faster you're going to be able to move on with whatever you want to do and put that action plan that we were talking about, for example, at the beginning of that video. But so the trick is there's a difference between talking about it and complaining about it, right? You don't want to keep complaining about it because you're just going to keep it dragging along and along and along. You want to acknowledge it. Yes, you can talk about it, but it's just a matter for you to unload whatever you have or whatever you have on your heart, whatever you have on your chest. Once you unload it, then you can start moving forward and move on to something a lot more positive. So it's kind of have like a therapeutic effect, if I could say so, is to acknowledge the emotion, express that emotion, talk about it with some people, and then move forward to something more positive and decide to leave this out here to move forward.
Are there any other ways that you know of or you've heard of or you've even done yourself to express how you're feeling if you don't find that talking about it helps, are there any other creative ways that you could express your feelings?
Music. Music is a great way to express yourself. I'm personally a drummer, and I started to play music because for me that was like a way to express myself, and still it remains today one of my favorite way on how to express myself, right? So it will be literally a case by case. For some people it could be music, for some people it could be paintings, like everything type of creative if you want. Even baking, for example, could be a way to express yourself. It's just that, yeah, it's really going to be a case by case. People feel that some activity will resonate with them, and they're going to be able to express themselves through those different activities right here. So yes, I strongly encourage people to do that type of thing, to find a way to express themselves, because at the end of the day, self-expression is such an important piece, because it helps you to unload whatever you have to unload, like we said before. So if you don't unload, you keep those things inside of you, and it's not good to do that. So for some people, it could be also going for a run, like blow some steam, or even boxing. Like, when you have that whole amount of energy or sometimes frustration, you need to unload it. But so you need to find a way to do it. Just make sure that this is a way that it's not gonna, disturb other people or disrespect other people or something like that. You don't want to start like throwing punch at everyone that works around in the street, right? But so you want to keep it like good, good and sane environment. And it could be the opportunity for you now to try some new things that you never tried before.
That's cool. Thank you, Sofian, for sharing your tips and tricks. I know that COVID affects people in so many different ways, and whether you're in lockdown or if you're in Auckland or if you're not in Auckland, everybody's mental health is affected in so many different ways. If you have any other questions or comments about how COVID has affected you or how being in lockdown has affected you, please let us know, and we'd be happy to do more follow-up videos or answer your questions in any way that we are able to. Sofian, have you got anything else that you'd like to add before we finish up this video?
Well, I think to close that video, I just want to remind you guys, reach out for help. Like literally, this is the best thing we can do. Like it is fantastic to see how the world has reacted to that pandemic, and it's amazing to see the amount of support, how the community are transforming themselves, and how a human being can be here for another. It's literally it's very empowering to see that. So I strongly encourage you guys to, if you need some help, reach out for help. There are a lot of people out here that could help you. Even if you cannot get out of your home because you need to respect all those distance and all that type of things, pick up the phone, go online, go on Facebook, whatever it is, find those groups, but literally reach out for help, because there's some people out here that will be happy to help. And for everyone who is happy to help, then reach out for people as well. Reach out for the elderly people in your area, try to get closer to some association or whatever. Try to find some cluster where people need some help about this, right? And do as much as you can within the limitations that you can that you have at the moment, right? So believe in the world right now, have faith in humanity. I'd like to say that, but the upside of that pandemic is it shows a really beautiful side of humanity, and it's time to come all together as one to make it happen, because that's how we're going to get out of it all together. So yeah, that's my advice right there.
Cool. Thank you, Sofian, and thank you for joining us on this COVID video. Stay tuned. In the next couple of weeks we'll be posting some more wellness videos, and if you have any other questions, please feel free to comment, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts and ideas, and we'll see you on the next video.
Thank you very much, guys, for listening to that video, and I really hope, guys, that you're going to be out of here quite soon. Bye.